Hello, Pa friends. Good morning. As has already been mentioned, this is a very, very important day for us because this is the day. This is the day in which we commemorate Baha'u'llah's declaration of his mission as being the promised one that was to come to bring all of God's children together. And so I'd like to share, just to put this day in the context, a little story that is found in a book called The Story of Baha'u'llah that was written by Drizel Cedarquist. Very good book that talks about Baha'u'llah's life. And I just want to share just some portions of this story with you so that you can get a sense of the august nature of that day. And just to put it into context, what was happening was Baha'u'llah was being moved from city to city in fear that his faith would spread. And so the reason why Baha'u'llah convened the followers of the Baha'i religion, whose founder is called the Bab, or the Gate, who was the forerunner of Baha'u'llah. The reason why he was gathering these followers is because he had a special message to give to them. And this story is about the commencing of that gathering. And it's important because, you know, it was a day of celebration, but it was also a day of sorrow because Baha'u'llah was about to be moved from Baghdad to Constantinople. Through the machinations of some of the religious leaders that were there. They were trying to get him excommunicated from this particular city because Baghdad represented a place of major trade, and they were afraid that all the people that were coming in to trade there, to be in that city, were going to eventually become followers of this new religion that they were advocating that advocated the equality of women and men, that advocated the fellowship and oneness of religion. And so, having said that, I want to share this story with you. By evening of the next day, the Babi's fears were confirmed. In a month's time, Baha'u'llah would leave Baghdad and go to Constantinople, over 1,000 miles away. The sorrowful news so disturbed the believers that they could neither eat nor sleep. Baha'u'llah had transformed their lives forever, and now their time with him was short and every hour precious. How could they close their eyes and sleep knowing he must leave them? The governor, too ashamed to deliver the letter in person, had sent it with his deputy governor. A sum of money for the expenses of the journey was included with the invitation to Constantinople. Baha'u'llah accepted the government's invitation, but he did not accept the allowance. The surprised deputy governor insisted that Baha'u'llah must take the money. To refuse would insult the authorities who had offered it. At length, Baha'u'llah accepted the allowance, but he would not keep it. Instead, on that same day, he gave the whole sum of money away, distributing it all among the poor of Baghdad. As his final weeks in Baghdad approached, Baha'u'llah did everything he could to comfort the Babis and lift their spirits. Every day he showered them with his love. In the days to come, every Babi who lived in Baghdad, whether man or woman, child or adult, received a separate tablet from Baha'u'llah. The tablets, each written in his own hand, encouraged and inspired one and all to show forth in their lives their faith and their lofty purpose. In each tablet, he urged them to be strong and warned them that the days of tested trials lay ahead. News of Baha'u'llah's impending departure traveled quickly through Baghdad and nearby towns. Everyone wanted to say goodbye. So many people came to see Baha'u'llah that his house could not accommodate them all. Nor with so many visitors could the family make their necessary preparations for the journey to come. A solution to the problem was suggested by a wealthy man, Najib Pasha, who greatly admired Baha'u'llah. Najib Pasha owned a large park-like garden just across the river from Baha'u'llah's house. He offered Baha'u'llah the use of the garden during his days in Baghdad. There, Baha'u'llah would be able to pitch his tents and receive all of the visitors who wished to bid him farewell, while the rest of the family would be free to prepare for the journey ahead. Baha'u'llah accepted the generous offer. On Wednesday afternoon, April 22nd, 1863, Baha'u'llah left his home in Baghdad for the last time and traveled a short distance to Najib Pasha's garden. For the first time, Baha'u'llah wore the stately Taj, a tall felt hat in place of his usual turban. The finely embroidered Taj rested like a crown on his head. Between his house and the river, the way was packed with people who had come to see Baha'u'llah one last time. Men, women, and children, friend and stranger alike, crowded together to catch a glimpse of him. There were Arabs, Kurds, and Persians gathered, as well as Muslims, Christians, and Jews. There were merchants, officials, and clergy, as well as those with no rank or learning. Some had come from curiosity, but most came out of respect. Baha'u'llah had touched the lives of so many who lived in Baghdad, and their encounters with the messenger of God had left none of them the same. In the hundreds of years since his founding, the city had rarely witnessed such a diversity of peoples come together with one heart. Some climbed to the rooftops to more easily see Baha'u'llah, who even now gave out coins to the poor and spoke words of comfort as he passed. Many wept openly. Who now would comfort the orphan, the outcast, and the poor he had befriended? Who would speak on behalf for justice? As he stood on the shore of the Tigris River, Baha'u'llah spoke to the Babis who stood with him. "O my companions," he said, "I entrust to your keeping the city of Baghdad in the state ye behold it, when from the eyes of friends and strangers alike crowding its housetops, its streets and markets, tears like rain of spring are flowing down, and I depart. With you it now rests to watch, lest your deeds and conduct dim the flame of love that gloweth within the breast of its inhabitants." Then Baha'u'llah turned and stepped into a waiting river taxi. The boatman ferried him to the garden on the other side of the river. His sons and his amanuensis, Mirza Akka Jan, went with him. Other Babis would soon follow. Allahu Akbar, God is most great. The afternoon call to prayer sounded from a nearby muezzin as Baha'u'llah entered the garden. Shapely trees and flowering plants grew abundantly along the garden's wide pathways, and the air was rich with the scent of roses. For some time, as the new year approached, Baha'u'llah had been hinting at something wonderful to come. A new joy had pervaded his poems, tablets, and conversations with the believers. Day by day, he had prepared the Babis, and now at last the time was at hand. Now in the garden of Najib Pasha, Baha'u'llah announced to a handful of Babis what so many longed to hear. He, Baha'u'llah, was the promised one. He whom God will make manifest, the holy messenger from God promised by the Bab. Baha'u'llah, the glory of God, was the one for whom the world had long been waiting. The divine springtime has come, wrote Baha'u'llah in a tablet referring to this time. He that was hidden from the eyes of men is revealed, girded with sovereignty and power. For 10 years, Baha'u'llah had told no one of his experience in the Black Pit. No one knew about the maiden who had appeared to him in the Black Dungeon of Tehran. Mirza Akka Jan had had a glimpse in Karbala of one of the oceans of light, and a few others had guessed that Baha'u'llah was the one promised by the Bab, but only Baha'u'llah knew the time to openly reveal his secret. Now, 19 years later, Mullah Hussein had first discovered the Bab. The time was right. Never before had humanity been blessed with 2 divine messengers in one lifetime. Not for at least 1,000 years, Baha'u'llah later wrote, would the world see another messenger from God. This was a time unlike any that had come before it. In this day, a great festival is taking place in the realm above, wrote Baha'u'llah. For whatsoever was promised in the sacred scriptures hath been fulfilled. With great joy, Baha'u'llah declared this very day to be the first day of the festival of Ridvan, paradise. From this time on, people would celebrate Ridvan, which was the most great festival, he said, the king of festivals, the festival of God. Today we have some very, very special guests to us. And a couple of weeks ago, I had the pleasure of going to Congregation Micah, which is a Jewish congregation here in the city. And I met Michael Hunter Oakes. And he told me about a group that he had founded and was a part of. And the name of the group is My Favorite Enemy. And as he was telling me more about the group, he said it was a group of Muslims and Jews, Palestinians, Israelis, Americans, all coming together to sing music in celebration. And a light went off in my head. I was like, wow, okay, so we got to get this guy over to our place. And then I went to listen to the music, and it's so celebratory and moving. And I felt like it would be befitting to have them come here and share in that experience, because the thing is that, you know, that spirit of unity, that pervasive spirit of the age is manifesting itself everywhere. And I saw just the visual picture of what Michael and his particular group were doing. It warmed my heart to see such a bright expression of the oneness of humanity being carried forward in the world. It's very powerful what they do. And so I want to share just a little bit about them, and then I'm going to have them to come up. And let me just tell you something. This music is not, you know, kind of cross your arms and just kind of sit there type of thing. And I would be willing to bet that Michael and Aya will probably have you all doing something before the end of the day. So just so that you get to know who they are, I'm going to share a little bit from their bio. First about Michael and then about Aya. Michael's music has been recorded in genres ranging from pop to country, gospel to South African jazz, classical to rock. Recently, international superstar Josh Groban recorded his song In Her Eyes. Michael's music has been featured in many feature films and television shows, including Waitress, Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, Aquamarine, The Simpsons, As the World Turns, The New Adventures of Old Christine, and the DreamWorks Steven Spielberg Tom Hanks film, The Terminal. Michael's song One and Only was the love theme in closing credits in the Uma Thurman romantic comedy My Super Ex-Girlfriend. Y'all seen those movies, right? I'm trying to keep good company. That's why I saw this guy. Michael was awarded the prestigious Nashville Songwriters Association International Award for the Song of the Year and the Gospel Music Association Dove Award for Song of the Year for the smash hit On My Knees. In 2008, Michael co-founded My Favorite Enemy, an unlikely collaboration between top-selling Jewish, Muslim, and Christian songwriters and recording artists. The group includes Israeli, Palestinian, and Jordanian members and has performed at the European Union Parliament, various embassies in the Middle East, Washington, D.C., at the invitation of the U.S. Congress and the United Nations. Oakes is the composer and producer of Gesher, am I saying that right?
Gesher.
Kind of, Gesher. A Shabbat CD universally hailed as a groundbreaking achievement in American Jewish music. Many of Michael's Jewish-themed compositions have become standard repertoire for the Shabbat services across the United States. On a recent European tour, Michael was thrilled when crowds in London and Norway were already familiar with his liturgical music. He has been composer in residence at Congregation Micah in Nashville, Tennessee since 2001. Aya Karim, am I saying that properly? Okay. After serving in the Army as a tank instructor, amen, somebody. Aya Karim attended Ryman College of Jazz and Contemporary Music and is considered to be one of its most famous graduates. In 2006, she released her debut album, Aya Karim. The album achieved gold status, and Aya was voted Female Artist of the Year. In 2008, Karim released her second album, Safa Zara, Foreign Language, establishing herself as one of Israel's most influential female singer-songwriters. Karim's third album, oh gosh, I don't know if I can say that, but I'll say it in English, Taming the Stallions, was released in 2011 and is widely considered to be one of Israel's best pop albums of recent years. Since 2009, Aya has been a member of My Favorite Enemy, which I read before, but I'll say it again so that you get it in your head. A project that brings together top Israeli, Palestinian, Jordanian, Norwegian, and American musical artists. The group recently appeared at the UN, the EU, and at the National Prayer Breakfast. Do I understand that President Obama was there?
At the breakfast.
At the prayer breakfast? All right, so they have performed for President Obama, which is wonderful. So I welcome Michael Oakes and Aya Karam, My Favorite Enemy. Give them a hand.